everybody. I'm Deborah with DC Fine Art, and today we are going to go over paper color and why it matters. And in this video, I'm going to go ahead and start doing this pastel. It's like a cactus flower. So I'm going to be working with just two, well, it ain't really two, but two different types of pastel pencils. I think I threw in maybe two of the Derwent pastel pencils because I like the colors of them. But in this video here, I went ahead and drew out my cactus flower that I was going to be working on, and I chose green because when you think of cactus, you think of green cactuses. So I went ahead and just hurried up and did this kind of quickly, and it's just a small little 7x7 little piece that I was going to go ahead and do for you guys and do like a little pastel painting. But this is actually a good video because whenever I hurried up and grabbed a sheet of my pastel mat, I grabbed the green one and just thought green for cactuses. Well, that was very much wrong, and I went ahead and started it and got to going with it, and I started thinking, you know what, as I was laying down these reds, and the reds were just not blending out too well. It was more of like the green was just pushing through on me and kind of discoloring it a little bit. It kind of gave it more of a, I don't know, it just looked more chalky, looked more like you could see some of the lines. When I tried going to blend it, it still didn't look right. So I was like thinking, okay, I know exactly what I did wrong, and it was my paper color choice. But I just went ahead and did it anyway. I didn't just stop after I did it and figured it out and thought, I'm just going to go ahead and stop. I decided I was going to go ahead and follow through completely with this video. So that way, if any of you were kind of debating on what paper choice color to use, and you thought just like me, well, I'm doing green cactuses. Green, right? No, on this I should have chosen like a lighter color because in all reality, this was a cactus flower. I really wanted that flower to pop. So I wanted it to kind of stand out over the cactus. You know, you got the greens and everything, but I really was hoping to have this really bright red flower in this picture. And I didn't get what I wanted. So whenever it came out to the end, I wasn't happy with it, and I wasn't happy at the beginning. And it was all because of my color choice. My color choice for green for the pastel mat, or the color for the paper, it was wrong. So toward the end of this video, when I get through with this flower, and you can kind of see it, I mean, it doesn't look too bad when I get done with it, but I just know that it could have been better. And at the end of this video, I'm going to go ahead and show you several different colors of the pastel mat that I do have. I kind of bring them with me. I'm back on my travels again. And I will do a test on what I should have picked, like a light blue, because I did have a very, very light blue. And I should have picked that one up if I wanted those reds to pop out. Something lighter, so that way it was easier to work and it would make it look, the blending would be so much better. So at the end of this, I am going to show you that. I'm going to pull out the blue, the lighter blue that I should have picked, and I'm going to pick out the same color green that I used right now. And I'm going to go ahead and start blending these reds, like a little bit of red on it, and just kind of layer it with some different color reds. And I'll show you the difference on why a colored pen or the color paper you choose makes a really big difference. It's almost a night and day difference. So color choice on paper really does matter. And also, whenever I was doing this piece, I was trying to get my darks around the shadowing of the flower to kind of stand out, but it almost stood out too much. Like, it didn't blend very well. It didn't look very, like, with the darker pastel into the red. I tried blending it in, kind of making that shadowy look, and instead it's like with that green that was really punching through the paper, and even though I was working it in and trying to layer up as much as I could, it just did not look right. So that was a little bummer on that one. Plus that, I even tried changing like the background of the paper around the flower, and it's still, the flower just didn't turn out right. It just did not blend very well with that green pushing through. It was definitely fun. So hopefully this video helps you guys out on color choice of paper and why it is very important to make a good choice on your paper choice, on your paper color choice. So here I'm just going ahead and putting these lights in on the tips of them, and it didn't blend out very well. Like, it stood out as a pink, it had that lighter pink color, but it just didn't blend very well with the other colors, and it kind of stood out way too much. But as far as the green goes, the green with the cactus and everything like that, it actually did very well. So that was a plus. Not really what I was going for, but yeah, the greens definitely looked great. It looked really good with the greens, and the greens did blend out very well too. Usually on these pastels, you can go like with your darker color first, and then you can go to your light, then go lighter, because it's easier to highlight on top of darker areas. So it's kind of like the same concept as you would with like an oil painting. You can start out with your darks first, make everything really dark, put in your darks, and then you can layer on top of it with the lighter colors. So here I'm just kind of making those little seedlings, I guess, of the middle of the plant. Had like this little seed cluster in the center of it. And see, I went back even with the white to try and highlight a little bit of these flowers around the edges, just to kind of give it that little pop. The pastel pencils that I am using on this is the Caran d'Ache pastel pencils and the Carbothello pastel pencils, and I do believe I only had brought with me 2 of my Derwent pastel pencils because I absolutely love those colors. It's like, one is actually, I think the name of it kind of wore off on me, but one's more of a darker purple, and the other one's more of a reddish color. It's like a darker reddish color. A burnt carmine is the Derwent one, and then the other one is like a darker purple. I would have to say it's kind of similar to kind of like a nightshade kind of color whenever it comes down to color pencils. That's what I kind of use it for, which is good because it usually goes with just about everything. Like if I want to make it darker. Oh, and then I see 2 more that I actually have, and I think I use that to darken up like the blues, like if I'm wanting to darken a blue up. And it is the Faber-Castell. I absolutely love those pastel pencils too. The darker blue that I usually use in a lot of my paintings when it comes to pastels is, it doesn't have a name on it, but it is 157, and it's like a darker blue. I did bring that one with me. I think out of my Faber-Castells I brung the blue and the black. The black, I did not use any black in this painting, but I do bring my Faber-Castell pencil, the black one, because it's the blackest of the black on the pencil side of the pastels that I've used. If I wanted to give it even darker than that, I would go over to my Prismacolor. It's like new Prismacolor, and it's like the little block, and it's the black on that is like the blackest black. Like it's amazing. But here I went ahead and put the little needles in the cactuses, and I even highlighted it a little bit with the burnt carmine along the edge of each needle, so that way it gives it a depth to each needle. Going back and adding in some darker colors to the center of the seedlings. And the little white little pods that are on there, I know it had like a little purplish color to them, so I would put down the little white circles, and then I would add a little bit of a fuchsia kind of color to it, or a magenta kind of color to it actually. And that way it gives it that purplish kind of hue to it. It's really pretty. Like I said, the greens did amazing. Like, I absolutely love the shadowing of the cactus. I love how that turned out. I love how it blended. The needles did great. I really did like how that looked. But whenever it came time for the flower, it just did not pop on this green paper. And then I went ahead and tried to put like a blue sky in. And I'm using right there a little soft tool, little blender, and I'll use that to kind of soften things out, because it does a really nice job of softening it. And I go back and use that blending stump. The blending stump really pushes in the pastel into the pastel mat, and I use that quite often, especially if I'm going to get into those little bitty corners right around the edges. But if I'm wanting to soften things out or blur things out, or maybe add a mist or a fog, I will go with my little blending tool. Those are really nice to make everything look really soft. Now I'm kind of layering, because like I do with most things, I usually layer and layer. Now with the green, it was not really the funnest thing of all to try and add this blue in. I mean, it still came out of blue, but it's still, even on the green paper with the blue, it didn't even turn out quite as what I would want it to be. So that was another hard color to try and add on this green paper. So I'm kind of blending out, kind of shadowing right around the grass area, adding some more of the lighter blue. Now I'm going around each of these needles. And the reason why I did this, usually I do this before I put my flower in, but since my flower was not turning out the way I wanted to with the green paper, I decided to go ahead and add in the background to it, like the darker blues and darker greens, and just trying to do whatever I could to kind of make the flower pop, like really pop out. But yeah. So here I'm kind of adding little highlights to like the grassy area for the background, kind of fogging it out for the distance. And then as I come closer to the flower, or closer to the view, I start making more bigger strands of grass. And then I'll go through and kind of highlight those little grass marks too. And so the further away it goes, the tinier it gets, and then I just create the little blades at the very far back. All right, since we're getting closer to an end on this page, or on this painting, just wanted to go ahead and let you guys know, if you could just click the like and subscribe, that would help me so much. And then also click the little bell notification, so that way YouTube can remind you when I have another painting out. Now we are moving on to the paper choice. This is the good one here. I went ahead and chose a lighter blue and then the green. And that's the green that I was working on with the flower. And I'm taking like one of my red pastels that I was working with and just kind of rubbing it on the green paper. And I'm going to end up turning that to where maybe you guys can see it a little better. Let's see here. Move it over just a little bit more. And then I'm taking that same red and putting it on a lighter blue that I should have used at the very beginning because I wanted the flower to pop. And you can already tell a difference. I mean, that red is just, and there's a highlight, and there's a highlight on the blue. Now see how well that blends in. Like, it is so super smooth, while I put that same color on that green and it stands out way too much. It's almost like a separation, but I'm doing the exact same thing, and that's all because of the green paper. Now see how smoothly that blends out and doesn't stand out as much as it does on the green, to where it looks blocky and chalky. So that's how it felt whenever I was working on the green. It looked blocky and chalky. While if you did it on the blue, it's more softer. Now here's the darker color, the one that I did on the green paper that just really stood out, and it did not blend very well. So here I am adding that to the blue paper with the darker color. And you can already tell a difference. Now I'll take a little blending stump and I'll just blend it just a little bit, just to kind of show you guys how smooth and how it looks like a shadow to the flower. That's much more smooth. Now if I go over here and do it to this one and try and blend it out, it just doesn't give that same effect. And the red actually pops more out, and you got more of a brighter red on that blue than you would have on the green. Now I'm going over with like an orangey color to kind of give it a highlight, a little bit more boost, and then I'm doing it to the green. Here's that pink kind of look that I did on the green, and I'll make that kind of stand out and make that one stand out. And look at the difference on that. It blends in so nicely. The pink doesn't stand out as much as it does. Now look what I'm doing here. I do the same thing and it doesn't blend out very well. And it's because of the green paper. It just makes it, I don't know. The colors do not go as well on the green. I mean, big difference. While I could have had a smoother flower, see the green and the blue, it's much smoother. The colors blend in so much nicer on the blue. And there's my finished painting. I hope this helped on making a choice in your paper color a little bit more easier. And also, I hope to see you all next time. Bye.